wanted to take a few minutes to introduce you to the study guides and some of the resources that you'll be using to study. So in the study guides, I almost always do a PowerPoint. On occasion, if there is still one or two lectures that are under Maria's, then there will be a PDF file that you would be opening. But in the PowerPoint versions, which you will have for most of the class, you will have an introduction of the things that you need to study for that particular subject, and all the definitions, or at least the items, not the definitions, as well as images and more descriptions of where the anatomy is related to the surrounding structures. There are drawings from Netters. There are some images from eAnatomy. On occasion, I will have a video. There are some interventional radiology images, CT and MR, and there's drawings as well. You'd be amazed at what you'll find on Bing and Google when you just type something into the search bar. You can find all sorts of things that will help you in your studying. So use those resources as well. So this is what a general study guide will look like, and then there will also be a recording that goes with it, and I walk you through the anatomy for that particular discussion item. There's not always just one per week, sometimes there's several, so I want you to be aware of that. Then talking about the language of sexual anatomy. So when we're studying sexual anatomy, we're talking about things and how they relate to the other structures in the body. So if you're talking about the pancreas, for instance, here's an example. The body of the pancreas is posterior to the body of the stomach. So when you look for the stomach, you'll see it, and then you'll see the body of the pancreas is posterior or behind the body of the stomach. And then the superior mesenteric artery courses posterior to the neck of the pancreas and anterior to the third portion of the duodenum. So you'd have the duodenum. If you're going from posterior to anterior, you'd see the duodenum, and then you'd see the neck of the pancreas, and then you'd see the mesenteric artery coursing posterior to that neck of the pancreas, and the superior mesenteric artery coursing anterior to the duodenum. So that means the neck of the pancreas is the most anterior, and then the superior mesenteric artery, and then the third portion of the duodenum is the most posterior. And when we look at the images, this will make a lot more sense to you, but this is just to kind of get you used to the sound of the language. And we use anterior and posterior, meaning the front part of the body and the back part of the body, left and right, and then superior, meaning towards the head, or inferior, meaning towards the feet. And the very first lesson in the week is talking about the language and terminology, so that will help you out a lot. And then as we start to study and use the images that I have in the study guides as reference, I brought up the different, well, let's start with Bellevue College just so you can see how to get there again. So you have Canvas. You'll need to log in there so that you are logged into the system, and Bellevue College knows that you are a student, and then you would have access to the library and the certain things within it, the databases. So you go to Library, then Databases on the left, and then as you scroll down, you will see eAnatomy here, and they're all in alphabetical order. So the Netters is just below that. There it is, Netters Atlas of Human Anatomy. And so I brought those up over here in separate tabs so that they're easier to get to. So here is a CT scan of the abdomen and pelvis, and you will notice that in eAnatomy that there are both MRI and CT images, and then within the MRI images they will sometimes have both a T2 weighted scan and a T1 weighted scan. And your very first week you'll take a look at the Weir book that is required for this class, and they explain in much more detail about CAT scans and MRI scans and what the different weighting means, and that will help you understand your first discussion question. So eAnatomy usually has a main image here in the middle, and this is an axial image, and then you have reference images here on the side. So you have a sagittal image cutting right through the middle of the body, top to bottom, and then a coronal image cutting the body in half, anterior to posterior, or front to back. And so you can look at this image here and find out where it is in the body by using that little blue line that helps for you to find where that is in the body. And then you can also add the anatomical parts. So I have deselected all to begin with, but then you can add the bones if you want to, so that you can take a look and see what the bones look like. Or if you're looking for the arteries, and specifically, you can look and just see where the arteries are in this particular image. There's also another thing called the hepatic segmentation, and this is offered in several different parts of the body. This has been sort of temperamental. Sometimes I can get this to come up and sometimes I cannot, but lately it's been working well, so that's good. So if you put on the hepatic segmentation, you can actually see where the segments of the liver are, and it will label them for you as well, and so that you're able to get a little bit better idea where these segmentations are within the liver. So that's a helpful item as well. And then there are also drawings within eAnatomy. Let's see if I can go back up and find those for you real quick. So I really like the images that they have drawn in here as well, the diagrams, because those I find sometimes are very helpful in trying to see what different areas look like, especially in the brain. I like the brain illustrations. So when you bring these up, there's usually one or two in the middle here. And then they also have a little box down at the lower end, and that will give you access to a whole bunch of images at once if you're just trying to scroll through and find something. So like here's one image, and you can go through and look at the bottom to see what some of the upcoming ones are in the order that they have them in. But if you click on this little box over here on the left, then you get all of them at once, and you can just scroll through and you can go, oh yeah, I was looking for the one that was all colored, or it's much easier to see them. And then going over into Netters, I want to review that real quick. So it's important in Netters to orient yourself, because a lot of times Netters will have more than one view on a page. So for instance, this is a view of the liver, and this is the anterior view. So this is as it would be in the body, although they have lifted up the diaphragm in the body so that you're able to see underneath it and see what it looks like. But this is as is, so this is the right side of the patient here, and this is the left side of the patient, and this is superior, and this is inferior. So it's just as if you were looking at the human body. But here they have flipped that image up so that this little piece that's hanging down here is now upright, and you can see the gallbladder here is now upright as well. So they've just flipped it top to bottom so that you can see the posterior side of the liver. So just be sure to orient yourself. You can see down here that it says visceral surface. That's the bottom surface of the liver. And it just gives you a different view, but I want you to be aware that they're not all upright facing us as if we're looking at the human body. The other nice thing about Netters, and this is the 5th version. I'm going to go back and show you the 6th version as well. But you can study this with no lines or labels, so that you can have with no labels, so that you can use it as a study guide. You can go through and quiz yourself, or you can also do no lines or labels so that you're just looking at the image by itself. And then if we're to go back and take a look, let's see, probably the easiest way to do this is to go through the library here and then go to Netters. There is a 5th edition and a 6th edition, and I use both. I know sometimes that frustrates students, but I find that there are good things in both books. Sometimes I'm better able to find an image in the 5th edition that I like better, and then they no longer use it in the 6th edition. So be sure that you look at both of them. The images in the 6th seem to be a little bit better detail and sometimes a little bit more enhanced. And then also I like that if you type in the top here a keyword, so let's say that I'm going to look for the thoracic spine. Let's see if it's going to let me type now. Thoracic spine. There we go. Then well, that wasn't very helpful. There we go. There's the thoracic. So it will give you all sorts of images that have the thoracic spine involved in some way, shape, or form. That's the thoracic vertebra. There's all sorts of different images that might be related. There's a CT scan with a thoracic spine. There's x-rays. So that's really helpful to be able to use that search tool, and that's something that's not available in the 5th. And then also you can just go by regions or by systems, and that's also very helpful. So those are ways to help you study. I also, going back to the study guide, we were talking about the CT and MRI and how this first week you're going to be having a discussion item about that. Along with your WEIR book, there's a good section in the very beginning of that book that gives you information about CT and MRI. Wikipedia also has good information on magnetic resonance imaging and CAT scan. And it's very basic information, but it's good. And Wikipedia is maybe not a scholarly resource, but it is helpful information and a good basic overview. And then the same for the CT scan there. And I think that pretty much covers all of the information. I try to include all the plate numbers for you so that you know where I got the information, the images that I use within your study guides. I may have left off one or two. If you can't find something, please let me know. If I have by some chance messed up the dates for something that's due, please let me know as well. I put the dates almost everywhere, so sometimes I forget to change one or two of them. So please keep on top of me and make sure that I've changed everything. And other than that, if you do have access to a PACS system at work, please look at the images from time to time if you're able to scroll through there. The CT and MRI images that you find there will not necessarily be from a normal patient scan, and it's helpful to look at scans that are not just normal like the ones that we see in Netter's and eAnatomy, because most patients are not going to have normal scans. There's something wrong, and that's why they're there. So it's really good to take a look at just everyday scans. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.